potential trap games, Chris. Who you got as some potential trap games this year?
Okay, you gotta give me the floor here for about 5 minutes, Christian. I know it's hard for you to do. I know you like to dominate the mic. I'm just fucking with you, but no. Here's my big top 10 potential trap games this year. This, by the way, I want to start this segment off. I saw a lot of comments on our Duke can play with Clemson basically segment a couple weeks ago or last week, if it was. Christian, you saw these comments. People saying we're full of shit. By the way, we both said that Clemson's, in our opinion, is going to be Duke. So I wish people would actually listen to the podcast just instead of taking it for the title. There's a potential out there for Duke to beat Clemson, though. Actually, if you guys don't watch us, we're small YouTubers. Watch some other YouTubers. A lot of people actually, believe it or not, have Duke beating Clemson week 1. So to get the start off, this is not my takes. These are potential upsets, though, that I think can happen over the season. They're very interesting. They may change later on as the season goes, obviously. But I'm going to bring this one up. And this is, I can't believe I'm even bringing this up, Christian. I know you don't agree with it. I definitely don't think it's going to happen. But a lot of people talking Colorado over TCU week 1. My opinions, hell no. I think that's a 21 and a half point favorite for TCU. I think they win by 28. That's just me personally. I put my money down the other day on that. Duke over Clemson, as we talked about, as I just spoke about, week 1. Potential close game. I actually think that game is going to be very close. First game of the season, guys. Texas Tech over Oregon. I picked this 3 months ago. I don't know why I feel this way. I just think Tech is super slept on. You see some sites, some YouTubers bring them up a lot. Tech's got Tyler Slough, who used to play at Oregon as their quarterback, had a big year last year. Christian, you know this. One of those games that I think is going to be super close. If you look at it on paper, everybody's going to pick Oregon just because they've been one of the more dominant teams the last 10 years. I understand that. But then we got Texas over Alabama. Christian, me and you both agreed with this one to piss off the Bama man. I don't even need to talk about that. That just one of those takes. Here we go. Ole Miss over LSU week 5, Christian. I know, and I'm going to let you have your floor here in a second. I'm not taking that bet, but there are people out there, a lot of people that, maybe LSU is not as good as we all think. I'm high on LSU. I definitely know Christian is. Ole Miss, as we've just been talking about, I think is going to be a damn good team this year. I just don't know how good. I don't think they're better than LSU. Notre Dame over USC week 7. Notre Dame is a very interesting team. I think they're very slept on the entire year. They got Ohio State this year. They got Clemson. They got USC. People forget about this. Notre Dame didn't have the best season last year under Marcus Freeman. That was his first year, but they bring in Sam Howell, guys. Sam Howell came from Wake Forest. He's actually the all-time leading passing touchdown leader in the ACC. Sam Howell is definitely better than any freaking quarterback they've had in forever there, in my opinion. So Notre Dame is one of those teams that's kind of slept on, especially last couple of years. Wisconsin over Ohio State week 9. That one is a huge one. Wisconsin's at home. They could come into that game undefeated. Ohio State would have had to beat Penn State the week before to get into that game. That one's a very interesting game to me, especially I'm a Big Ten guy with my Skurs over here. I don't think it happens. God, I hope it does, though. The next one I got at number 8 is Miami over Florida State. These two are huge rivals. Some of these guys in the comment section here know about the Skurs. They remember the 90s. Miami, Florida State was a huge rival. That thing's been going on forever. Those two schools back then especially were top 5 every year. So is Miami pulled themselves out of the gutter? I don't think so at all. Personally, just me. Or Chris Boyle's done a great job over there. I think he's a hell of a recruiter. I just don't know if he has enough to compete with Florida State this year. I am ultra high on Florida State. Can't believe I'm saying that. But fear to spear, baby. Here we are. Penn State over Michigan, week 11, Christian. That's a big game. Penn State's got a tough schedule this year in the Big Ten. I don't know if it happens. I got Michigan winning the national title this year. I'll say it now if I haven't said it on air. I don't think it happens there, but I love Penn State. I actually think they also beat Ohio State this year. So interesting take. Tell me why I'm a complete idiot here in the comments. Tennessee over UGA, Christian, for my final spot. I know you wanted to hear it. I had to put it in there. it all depends on Joe Milton. I think Tennessee's offense is going to be great this year. My biggest problem, though, when you're playing against Georgia, I know Georgia's defense is going to be elite. We don't need to talk about it. We already know. Tennessee was undefeated when they played you guys last year, and you guys just destroyed them at home. Hendon Hooker got his ass kicked. I don't know if that was necessarily the outcome. I actually think the game is closer this year than it was last year. Problem is, I don't know if Tennessee's defense is such a question mark to me this year. I think Tennessee's going to be really good. We don't really know what Georgia's offense is going to be because we really don't know necessarily who the quarterback is. We also don't necessarily, I heard you guys had another injury in the running back room, but God damn, it's Georgia, man. I think they reload this year. I am not picking Tennessee to beat Georgia this year. Christian has definitely, I know, talked about a very big potential upset there. Only other problem is at Georgia too. So, or actually, I think, is this game at Tennessee or Georgia, Christian? I don't even know.
I think it's at Tennessee.
It is at Tennessee. You're right.
Yeah.
They played at Georgia last year. It was kind of an ass kicking. I'm a big Hendon Hooker fan, but I'll leave it at that, Christian. I'll kick it over what your potential upsets are. Hopefully, I'm assuming you have a couple of these on your list. I want to hear your side, buddy.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, there's again, obviously, let us know in the chat what you think, who the potential trap games this year are. The Ole Miss LSU one, that was pretty interesting to me. I don't think Ole Miss pulls that off. I mean, could it potentially be a trap game for LSU? Could be. It's a very real possibility, right? First off, I'll kind of start here, Chris. My first trap game, I've got Ole Miss at Tulane, right? It's early in the season. The game is at Tulane, right? We kind of touched on that in the last segment here, right? Because Tulane was 12-2 last year and gets back enough production to pull an upset. Texas at Alabama. Early season game. Bama has a bunch of new pieces and coordinators that need to get on the same page, man. And like I said, Texas should have beat them last year if they would have had a quarterback that could have walked out of that stadium, right? But they didn't. Here's another interesting one. Michigan at Maryland, right? The game is at Maryland. You got Talia Tagovailoa, who is back and should make this interesting. And let's be honest, dude, Mike Loxley, he's a damn good coach, right? I think, all right, I absolutely think here that Michigan and Maryland could possibly do something interesting here, right? Next game up, Penn State at Illinois, right? Illinois, I think I said that right. I'm finally figuring this out. I don't want to piss off the Fighting Illini fans. It's at Illinois. It's a week 3 game, so it's early in the season. Brett Bielema will beat somebody this year he doesn't have, he shouldn't be beating, right? He does that every year.
Oh, yeah.
Clemson at Duke, we touched on that. We pissed off a lot of Clemson fans. Oh, well, get used to it, right? It's the first game of the year for both these teams. Game is at Duke. Duke gets back a ton of production. Clemson needs to get back on track on offense. So they're trying to figure a lot of this stuff out, right? South Carolina at Georgia, right? Historically, South Carolina plays us very tough.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's the first real test of the season for Georgia. Now, you got to remember, South Carolina has Spencer Rattler and Shane Beamer. So Shane Beamer, he needs a statement win. So this could get very interesting. It seems like everybody that coaches South Carolina at some point gets a big upset over Georgia early in the year. So I'm just waiting for it to happen. This might be the year. Again, you never know what can happen at this level. Oklahoma at BYU, right? This is a later game in the year. It's at BYU, all right? If Oklahoma has a rebound of a season here, BYU always plays tough, right? And what could be a very beat-up Oklahoma team coming into that part of the season, right? BYU beats up teams, dude, when they play them. They have thrown off many. They may not always win the game, but they'll beat the hell out of some teams, right? So if somehow Oklahoma could manage to get into this game undefeated, that could be a potential trap game for them. All right, and lastly, Texas Tech at Texas. Okay, last game of the year for Texas. Tech beat Texas last year, and also Tech, and you touched on it, right? They got 14 starters back, Chris.
Yeah,
I mean, so there's a bunch of stuff I look at from this that I'm kind of sitting here saying, there's a ton of trap games in college football this year. I mean, even if half these games, right, end up hitting, that's going to be chaos for college football.
Yeah, and I think that's what they need, though. I mean, this is what makes the sport interesting, right? If we all like the same freaking team, it'd be a boring world. So, no, I mean, you're right. I mean, Tech is a very interesting team. A few years, I'm going to have different opinions on. You're obviously having different opinions on mine. These were just some of the top 10 big matchups, I think, week in and week out that we're going to see this year. And guys, after if we did this take like 2 weeks into the season, this would all change. We might see Clemson come out and shit the bed against Duke, right? And we might see Tech beat Oregon, or Oregon just destroy Tech. I mean, there's so many things. I'm going to bring it up, boys. Let's say Minnesota comes out and just beats the shit out of Nebraska, and we F around and get beat by Colorado, right? I mean, it's going to change a ton. This was a tough take, but these are games that I think are all going to be super interesting, especially in the SEC, where there is like 3 or 4 teams, I think, in the SEC: Arkansas, Ole Miss. I'll even throw in maybe Kentucky is a team that always plays everybody tough just because of their physical style of play, and probably be. I mean, I said 4. I guess I can only think of 3. Actually, I actually think Ole Miss, Auburn is a team that's kind of interesting too. You never know with Hugh Freeze. It's going to be very interesting. I think we all know who kind of runs the Big Ten. It's the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Penn States of the world. Wisconsin, by the way, super interesting team. I think they can win the West this year. I hate to say that, Nebraska fans, but they got probably the best chance by far, in my opinion. I'm a big Luke Fickell fan. I think he's been super successful where he's been. But I mean, your top 10, Christian. I mean, I really have no order in this. It was just more teams and games that I saw. I'm sure you probably felt the same way.